Hey nerds, welcome to the Nerd Rundown presents the Book of Boba Fett, where today we'll review the most recent Star Wars show that aired on Disney+. I'm Darren Stemple. With me today are a couple of the biggest nerds I know, Big Morg 3000.
Hello.
So seductive. And Mr. Maker himself, Bill Poor.
This is the way.
Ooh.
There you go.
Is it though? We'll discuss more.
This may not be the way.
We'll get into that for sure. But per the usual, you can find us on our social media like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the Nerd Rundown. And while you're there, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, as always, you can find us on all the major podcast services. So let's get into Boba Fett. The TV show, not the man. I'll start off with Bill because I've talked to Bill the least amount about the show. Plus, he binged the show this week to catch up on it.
I did.
So he's very fresh. And I know you've got some fire that you want to, but let's start off with just the highs. What did you like about the show, Bill?
I think it's going to be the obvious one, The Mandalorian. I think the basically episode and a half that was an extension to The Mandalorian was absolutely fantastic. I really love the scenes with the armor. I thought that was some great world building there. I will say I sort of, and I'll talk. It's hard to talk without talking about the negatives, but I liked the premise of Boba Fett sort of coming in and wanting to be this different leader. And I thought they were going in a direction of where, he's leading in a different style than what we've seen in the past, but he does so because, he's so strong and he projects strength and he pulls in, powerful people around him. But that didn't necessarily pay off the way I thought it would, but I appreciate that they tried.
Yeah. That's the only high you have about the show?
All right. That's not a good sign.
What did you like more about the show?
I mean, the highs for me, as I'm sure everybody, Mando, of course. Yep. BD1. I was happy to...
Yeah, BD1.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was happy to see him because we're all fans of Jedi Fallen Order.
Probably the best droid in Star Wars. Yeah.
Yep. The whole Grogu and Luke. This might be some of the best stuff Luke Skywalker has done. And it wasn't even really Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, that stuff was good. What's her name?
Kalimoto?
Okay.
Or Ahsoka?
It was good to see her again. Seeing the temple be built.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were some of the highs. I did enjoy a little Rancor action. That was exciting.
The fan service was good in this show.
That's a great point.
They did some good fan service.
There was some really and
a high for me is that they hired I believe he was just a YouTuber.
Yeah.
To do the Luke Skywalker because he did his own Luke Skywalker after we got him in The Mandalorian to show how much better he could do it. So they hired him. So that's amazing.
Awesome.
I was just trying to remember that he has a YouTube channel. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
I will say I'm starting to realize that I think my negatives I could talk much more about than the highs.
Well, we're going to get into them. I'll say this: I really liked the beginning of the show. It really set up a really great story that I just felt like they never gave a reason why they were doing it. Even Cad Bane comes in at the end, that's a high. Holy cow, we get Cad Bane from the Clone Wars. He's the first animated character to make their debut in live action Star Wars. We've had Fennec Shan was in oh yeah, you're right, Ahsoka was the first, right? Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah,
she would have been. Yeah.
So I stand corrected. The second animated character make live action debut, but still very cool to see that happen. Fennec Shan was good. I really loved looking at Garza Fwip, Jennifer Beals' character. I'd watch her paint the wall. She was great. I was really upset when she got blown
spoiler.
up.
This episode has spoilers.
I guess we should probably put a spoiler warning on the show.
It's too late. We already ruined stuff.
There's not much that's there, right? For Garza Fwip, she runs a bar and the bar gets blown up. Like I'm not ruining too much. Anyway, I'll say this: the story that they set up of him becoming this crime boss, it just didn't feel like there was a payoff to it. It felt like, okay, I'm getting into the negatives. You're right.
Transition into the negatives.
I know.
Yeah.
Hold off on the negatives.
Hard not to talk
It's
about
hard.
the negatives. I have some other positives that as we go down our list of things to talk about with the show, I
same
think
things
will come out.
Yeah.
But I think that's an indictment on the show when you're like, I can't talk about the show without talking about the negatives. So let's get to the negatives. I think we're all in agreement that the main negative of the show was a certain group of highly colored, like brightly colored scooter gang.
The scooter gang, the rascal gang.
Does anybody have a different answer to
No.
No,
biggest
it was. I physically cringed.
I hated them.
I wasn't sure if I was watching the next Spy
didn't feel like
Kids.
Star Wars. Yeah, it didn't feel like Star Wars.
I think
and especially Tatooine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's hard on people, on equipment, and then you've got these brightly colored mopeds that are supposed to be intimidating.
Tatooine should not have hipsters.
No,
Like
No.
that is not a hipster planet, and he found a gang of hipsters.
If this was a different planet, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if this was a planet that was more of like a thriving city,
Yep.
and
Or even Coruscant,
Right.
Coruscant.
like,
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Coruscant.
yeah, something that just makes sense. And that was so. I couldn't stand any of that. When watching them, I felt the same as when I watched the whole BS alien horse sequence in episode 8. When they went there to meet the guy. I know.
8.
But that feeling of like when she releases the horses and she goes, "It was worth it." I was like, no, it wasn't. Like, it was dumb.
What was the point?
All of that was dumb.
Point?
All of that was dumb. You did not accomplish your goal. It was just all stupid. And that's how I felt about those. And, I feel like I could talk about them forever. But, some of the lows, like, I think the problem with this is everybody went into this expectation of what Boba is, when realistically, I think we saw Boba for like 2 minutes in the original trilogy. And he goes down rather easily.
Yeah.
Right. An accidental hit and he flies off and he's in a stomach.
Yeah.
So like we didn't really get much of him, but the little bit we did was he was mysterious, but he was also cold, I would say, in the sense that like when Darth Vader's doing his thing, he literally just gets in Darth Vader's face and he's like, well, if they're dead, they're useless to me. Like nobody gets everybody backs away from Darth Vader. You know what I mean?
Except for Han Solo.
except for the hero. Well, yeah, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker doesn't count. But I mean, like, he was ballsy enough to be like, no, like right in Darth Vader's.
Right.
Whereas this, like, he spends time with the Tusken Raiders, who also in the Star Wars universe, as far as I'm concerned, are mean,
Sounded
rough,
like one right there almost.
Yeah, that's like they're tough. They're tough. They live in the desert. They're tough.
Right.
And,
but they're also brutal people. Like they
but
made
somehow
them pathetic in this show.
But that's the thing. Somehow being with this brutal tribe made him more empathetic, which doesn't make sense to me. It should have made him more of like no, I don't take shit. This is what I do. I get my bounties and I kill. And he didn't understand the inner workings of the crime lord stuff at Tatooine, which I didn't understand. Like, he didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that because I'm like, well, this is your world.
Yeah.
Like you're a bounty hunter. This is your world. And you worked for Jabba. How do you not understand how the stuff works? That really threw me off.
Why didn't they go back inside when the big droids showed up at the end? I feel like if they just went back into the bar,
get some cover.
Get some cover. No, it's just stay out here. Like, there was a lot of weird.
Or when they had him surrounded with the shields, like you have a jetpack on, fly up.
Right. Like just fly over him and then hit him. Like what? There was some really weird.
Some weird decisions. Honestly, the biggest low for me was Boba Fett in the Boba Fett shop.
Honestly, I think that's a perfect way of putting it. Is Boba Fett was not the most interesting character. He was not the best character. He was not his flashbacks. I will say for high, and I'll get into this in the action part of this. The train scene was some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen. The whole second episode was some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen. But it wasn't even. I don't know. It just didn't. I thought like he was going to have a Tusken Raider army at the end come in. It felt like that's what they were setting up, and it just didn't feel like there was a payoff to the time with the Tusken Raiders because it made him more empathetic. Well, it made him like weaker, is what it really felt.
Yeah, like that's what I felt like. It made him weaker, and it just honestly, I think they messed up a high and a low. The Mandalorian, because it was a high, like yes, but the low is like. Oh shit, that's right. I really just want Mandalorian. I don't care about Boba Fett. Like, so it hurt them, I think. And I'll say I don't. Well, we'll get into it more later.
Well, and I know they plan these things out so far in advance, but it did feel like they're like, okay, this show isn't as good. We need to throw in the Mandalorian. Like
we need to pick a Mandalorian episode.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, and it hurt. I really hurt the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have an entire Boba Fett episode in The Mandalorian, would you? Right?
No, like, and I don't think they ever would.
They would never do that.
Like, yeah, they let it up too much.
When it, like I said, I know they planned it out far in advance, but it feels like they were like, we need to save this show because maybe we bit off more than we could chew on it. I don't know.
So I had to narrow my there's a lot of negatives, I think, of the show. So I had to narrow mine down. And one of the biggest ones for me, if not the biggest, is, we talk about world building and Star Wars, for as big as this world is and as expansive as it is, it's really starting to feel small. We keep seeing the same 3 planets. They're not really introducing anything new. This is the perfect opportunity. Boba Fett is one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. He could have gone anywhere. I mean, he's been far and wide, and yet we're right back on Tatooine, where we've been since the first episode. I mean, I
get for me that's where he was in the Sarlacc pit,
right?
But you didn't have to stay on Tatooine. Like, what was the decision there? I mean, I know he went through the Tusken Raider camp, but he could have gotten out of that and then gotten off world. And you see it with the Mandalorian episode in this season, that freaking amazing location.
As soon as you bring in the Mandalorian, you've got new locations. It was gorgeous.
Scooter people would have made more sense on the Halo ring.
Maybe not, but I would still expect to see him more on that ring than in
right. Like it would make more sense to see them there on the Halo ring. And
that Halo ring is so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. I was like,
I like your point, Bill, of like there is so much we could do in this world, and I get like they're stuck on like, well, we need to do it about the characters we like, but like. Open it up, like let's go here. Bring in Jedi Fallen Order.
If there was a payoff at the end, it would have been worth it. But we go through this entire thing with him wanting to bring peace to Tatooine or whatever and be a different world. And in the last episode, he goes, "Yeah, I'm not cut out for this." And I'm like, what?
I know. All right. Yeah, like people are saluting me like, all right, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But it just felt like you had a chance to set up like in the first episode, it felt like it was going to be like, I don't know, family versus crime family, like very Godfather-y, and it just didn't feel like that after the first couple episodes.
Right. And I'll say, you might have to fact check me here because I could be wrong. I think Boba Fett is the first animated character that was brought to the real screen.
Well, he was in Empire Strikes Back before he was
in the Christmas special in an animated segment in the
Was
Christmas
that before
special.
Empire? Did that come out before Empire?
That was before Empire, wasn't it?
Let's look that up.
Let's see. Yeah.
I thought
Star
that was in
Wars
between.
I thought the
Empire
first one was such a
Jedi.
success that they just hopped on it real quick and made a Star Wars Christmas special.
I thought it was in between Empire. I was 78, so it was right after the first one. So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So Boba Fett was animated in the holiday special first, and then came into live action
to the big screen.
in
Empire.
Now, I will say this. I know he had plans for him to be like, I think it ended up in the special editions of A New Hope, where Han visits Jabba the Hutt, and he's there. So I think he was planned to be a live action character first. They weren't able to fit him into A New Hope. So
there's some good stuff on Disney Plus. Go to Disney Plus and get in the Star Wars section. They actually have a whole thing about Boba Fett and how he came to be, and how he just ended up in the movie and everything, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, totally. I'll say this. The leader of the biker gang, the scooter gang, Sophie Thatcher, she actually acted very well. Like, I didn't mind her acting. I thought the spin that the guy did at the end was really dumb. But at least in her scenes,
but he dodged the lasers.
But I feel like maybe Sophie Thatcher's character, her name was Drash. She did a good job acting. Like the first scene where they're introduced to Boba Fett, and she's like, there is no work, my Tadamio. Like I was like, okay, you're at least doing a good job of the assignment you've been given. So if there's one bit of positive news to come out of the biker gang, but even Banana watching it, she's like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels weird.
And it just threw me off. Like, why is Boba Fett recruiting that?
Yeah,
we have no sign that they're going to be fighters when we first meet them. Like,
right.
Like, and if I walked in, I thought he was going to go in there and just like F them up. It's like, I'm running this. Like, what do you think you're doing here, kid?
You stealing water?
and not be like, come work for me. You know, what's your skills?
So I kept waiting the entire show for Boba Fett to be a badass. And every single fight, I'm like, this is it. He's going to turn it on. He's going to totally just, put him in the ground. And there was no payoff at any point. He never overcomes this. I mean, that fight it was Chrysanthemum, I think is how you say that.
Black Chrysanthemum, yep.
He just gets destroyed. I mean, it's not even a competition.
As he should, outside of when he doesn't have his armor on, he should get destroyed by Black Chrysanthemum, who's a badass, like bounty hunter, gladiator, fighter.
But then the moped gang, who is
and then the moped gang took him down,
right, and takes down,
scooting in, and hop off like we're here. They're doing 360.
I actually forgot I forgot that's who saved him from Chrysanthemum. That's
right. That would have been so that for me is what ruined it, because if Chrysanthemum was this incredible, but then he gets taken down by a random biker gang that lives on.
Yeah,
right. It should have been more like he whoops all of their asses, and then Boba Fett like talks his way out of it. Like, hey, you're amazing. Let's work. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they didn't allude to this at all in the show, which was really weird. Maybe implied it a little that they knew each other, but they worked together. They worked with a great character who I think deserves her own show called Dr. Aphra. She's like an Indiana Jones type character of the Star Wars universe. She works with Black Chrysanthemum in some of the comics. Calls him. They even use the nickname of Santo. He's like, Santo, you there? Anyway, so yeah, Santo.
Hey.
Heyo.
How can I help you?
Yeah. So there's a history there, and Darth Vader hired both Boba Fett and Black Chrysanthemum in the past. That's never brought up. Like, you miss an opportunity with that.
And I would have loved, even if it was like, you know, he goes in there and he's tossing Boba around and he fights the gang and he just whoops, like I said, all of their butts, and then like he gets Boba against the wall. And then they kind of laugh, like, "Oh, hey, old friend,
yeah,
work for me." You know, like just a reminder, like, don't forget.
I owed you that one. You know,
like, okay, you owed me that. One of those, like, and then he just works with them. Like, I would have rather that than he gets beat up and gets depressed and gets drunk and kills a random dude or works an arm. You know, like, I got beat by a bunch of teenagers on scooters.
Is they're called Tradoshans. The Tradoshans hunt Wookiees, so that's why he beats up those Tradoshans in the bar. But that's the only thing that is ever alluded to in that is when in the very first episode when the Tradoshans, who are, you know, one of the crime families in Mos Espa, they bring him a Wookiee pelt, like in the beginning when they're offering up gifts. So that's like the only like world building
but you wouldn't really
get, but you don't get that. You're not going to get why he's beating up. He's beating up the Tradoshans.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. I mean, this is
right.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I did not realize that was the whole catalyst of that interaction. I thought it was just, you know, he just went and beat some guys.
Yeah,
up.
I thought he was just
casual.
I thought he was belligerently drunk and just, you know.
Those guys are annoying. I'm glad.
I mean, listen, when you
and Tradoshan's arms grow back.
Yeah, like, he had to prove to himself he could beat somebody other than a scooter gang.
Yeah. He's like,
listen, I can still do this. Let me get the guy that's gambling, not paying attention.
Well, and Tradoshan's arms, they grow back. Like they're reptilians. Yeah. So that's also not alluded to. It's just like you guys could have cut out the whole biker gang and built the world.
Yeah, it's like you could tell the show was going for like, let's get some cool cameos to make people happy, but like we're not going to flesh this out like we should.
Right. Well, and that brings us to the next part or the next two parts. They're kind of tied together, so we can combine them. Is my question to you guys is Boba Fett is the main character? In his own show, we talked about it. He's not the most interesting character. He's not the best character in his own show. It's called the Book of Boba Fett. It should be like, you should come out of the show feeling like, okay, I used to love Boba Fett, but now he's on like Mando scale level amazingness. And now he feels like a throwaway character to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where does Boba Fett, you know, where is he at for you, Morgan, after watching this show? Is he a character you want to see more of? Do you not care for him anymore?
He's a character that I want to see more of only as side character in other things. Like, I don't need another Boba Fett season. I just want Boba Fett to show up in the world. I would be fine with that. Or Mando goes to Tatooine and, you know, hey, Boba.
Or he helps him rebuild. Yeah. He helps him rebuild Mandalore. You know, he was great in the Mandalorian season 2 as a sidekick. You know, and helping him out.
And that's a good point. Like, I can appreciate too if the setup for this stuff is that they're going to rebuild Mandalore. Like, that's the setup. You know, we're getting the Mando, we're getting Boba Fett. Like, nothing really leads into it, but we are getting more Mandalorian lore, more, you know, of that. So, and we got what's her name in season 2 of Mandalorian. I can't think of it, but so I can appreciate it if these shows that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to build Mandalore back and, you know, like actually build something here. But again, with the Boba Fett, I'd rather Fennec get a show than Boba Fett get season 2. Like, I'd rather Fennec have a spin-off.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Your words weren't matching your mouth. So I don't know if Bill was seeing that. It's fine now. Was it?
Yep.
On my screen? Well, on my screen, you guys are kind of like jittering around a little bit.
Oh, maybe it was your internet then. It felt like I was watching a Japanese film And the word
adult cartoons.
Yeah.
But no, I'd rather see Fennec get her own show.
Yeah,
And
she was great.
can we appreciate the fact that she's 59?
She's 59.
The actress is 59.
No way.
I'm telling you, look it up right now.
No way.
That is
What is
that's
that?
crazy.
No way. She was born
let's
in
put it
1960. She was born in 63.
Is that 59 years old?
Hold on, let me do the math. Because now I'm second guessing myself.
I was like, wait, my mom was born in 60.
Yeah, 59. 59.
Okay. Well, good for her because she looks great. Ming Na Wen is the actress's name.
Oh, I would have no idea she was 59.
Yeah, you would not know that. That's
But
great.
I felt like she would be a better
She was
lead
a
than Boba
badass.
was. Yeah, she's a badass. She'd be a much
She had a
better
great
lead than Boba.
assassin scene at the end where she goes and takes out the crime families. I don't know, Bill. Well, let's pass it up to Bill on where he's at with Boba Fett, and then we'll go back to because we're going to talk about the supporting characters, which Fennec Shan fits in.
So I think they made a pretty clear choice by having an entire episode and a half not even feature your main character and instead brought in the Mandalorian. I think, and I'm actually going to touch on what Morgan was saying, you have this want or need to see more of the Mandalorian culture or the bounty hunter aspect, but we have all of that in the Mando. There is no need for Boba Fett to be a main character other than he was, in the original, or, he was back in the original movies. Right. I would love, just like Morgan said, I'd love to continue seeing him. I want to see the payoff. I want to see him, become this, powerful, feared bounty hunter that he once was. But I don't think he needs to be a main character. I think we're just beyond that point. I really would not like to see a second season.
Well, that's interesting. I think I might be on the opposite side of you guys. I would rather have a second season to see if we can't redeem it a bit and get what we deserved or what we should have gotten. So I'll parry that a little bit with give me a second season and give me a full blown better show, and don't focus on Mando. Maybe make it. No, it's okay. I was just gonna say maybe make it the crime family. Make him, Don Corleone and killing everybody, or whatever it is, and make him a badass. Don't make him this pussy,
wimpy. Right. Yeah. So. Well, and that raises a good point, because if you think about it, the Mando was great in Boba Fett. But there was stuff that didn't even pay off there. He never learned how to wield the Darksaber. I thought for sure we would get to that final battle and he would finally attune with the blade. Never happened. I think a lot of things were just left unresolved. Yeah. And I think that's hard when there's no payoff.
Yeah.
The argument to that could be, we'll get the payoff in the Mando show. Well, then don't even bring it into the Boba Fett.
Don't make it a core aspect of that episode. I mean, that whole episode was basically focused around that.
Right.
Yeah, I would have rather, if we didn't see, I'd rather.
I feel like we're still talking about negatives.
I know. You can't help it. I'd rather not have seen Mando and just got Boba Fett's I'm calling in help. And then the Mando shows up in that episode to help. That would have been cool.
Yeah. And we're all waiting for the Baby Yoda reveal. What's Baby Yoda doing? After Mando season 2, is he training with Luke? What's going on? I didn't need that. I like that we got the resolution. I'm fine with it. I will never complain about my baby, being on screen ever, because I could watch Baby Yoda all day long.
Yeah, it's adorable.
And he's about as cute as a button, maybe even cuter in these episodes.
He's using his Jedi powers just to try to eat frogs.
Right.
We all know if we have Jedi powers, we do stupid stuff like that.
Absolutely. I would never get up for a beer ever again.
No, never.
So it's just, I didn't need it. I didn't need it in this show.
Yeah.
So
negatives.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
You create an interesting problem too, because can you imagine somebody who watches The Mandalorian and did not watch Boba Fett on episode 1 of season 3? They're going to be like, "What? How? What's happening?"
Now, I get that point, but I also get the fact that what Marvel's done is Marvel's created a universe where it's like you don't necessarily need to watch everything, but it helps to watch everything. And Star Wars has tried to take that path now with these shows and the movies and connecting everything. And so that would be on you for your own fault if you watch Mandalorian season 3 and you're like, oh, I didn't watch Boba Fett. Well,
yeah, because I would
you
say
probably should.
Yeah, if you're watching
watch
like Mandalorian, like you're watching.
At least just watch that episode. That episode it's like Mando season 3 and
all you need to do is watch it.
Really is.
You don't need to watch all of it, but just watch that Mando episode.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about the best supporting characters, Mando and Baby Yoda of Boba Fett, let's talk about the other supporting characters. So move those two on because that's the easy answer. Those are obviously the best supporting characters in the show. There's some other really great supporting characters. My favorite supporting character and I wanted to see more of was Black Chrysanthemum. I want more Black Chrysanthemum. I was glad he didn't die. He was a badass fighter. There's more you could do with him. And his backstory in the comics, again, he worked with Boba, got hired by Darth Vader. He's a gladiator. He fought. They even mention it, the pits of the gladiator pits that he fought in. He was a well-known gladiator. I want to see more Black Chrysanthemum. I want to see him show up in other shows. You could probably just pick a property coming up. You got Obi-Wan. He could show up there. You know, he's that old. So I don't know. That was my favorite supporting character. Bill, who was your favorite supporting character not named Mando or Baby Yoda?
So mine is I really enjoy the Mandalorian aspect of the Star Wars universe. I find it fascinating. I sort of relate it to like the Spartans. So for me,
that's really good.
The armorer was fantastic. I love every scene with her. And then also I cannot remember his name. I was just trying to Google it. I just forgot it. The other Mandalorian who challenges him for the Darksaber.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But that was I thought that was I thought he was really good as a challenger. And I mean we saw him on screen for maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and they built so much backstory. You know, his family forged the dark saber for the Mandalore way back when, and I don't know. I really want to know more about Mandalorian like culture, and so for me, it's the armor, and then that other Mandalorian that challenged him.
Keep going. Morgan. Why don't you go? Why I'm looking at this.
If so for me,
Paz Vizsla.
Yes.
I would say
he was played by Jon Favreau, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I didn't know. Well, Robert Rodriguez played the mayor of Tatooine.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And you know what? I would even put in what's his name? His
aide or whatever.
His aide as a great supporting.
I mean, when he reads the note, I mean that's hilarious. When he just stops because he knows.
Mok Shiraz is major domo, so he doesn't even have a name. He just is their major domo. But yeah.
But no, so it's a tie. I mean, Fennec is I think probably the best supporting character. I was a big fan of the Sarlacc pit because it almost killed everything, which would have been great and just moved on to Mando. But which, by the way, how has nobody ever thought of, let's just drop a bomb down that thing. Right. And then we don't have to worry about the Sarlacc pit anymore. Right. It's over. That, but no, she's I think the best supporting character because she does a lot. She, like I said, she's more of a leader. I mean, when they get back, whatever the ship is called, when they get the ship back, Boba Fett doesn't even know how to fly it. I get he's been with the Tusken Raiders for some time, but it's like I figured it would be like riding a bike, and he's like hitting the walls, and he's like, I don't know how to get out. Like, what do you want me to do? And she's whooping the ass of everybody in there.
Yeah.
Or she, again with the spoilers, she takes out the whole crime families at the end. She just walks in and kills them all.
Yeah, I thought that was really
like, why didn't we just do that before?
She takes out the main bad guys. Like, Boba Fett's not even in the same town.
She took off, takes them all out, and was like, done. So I think she's the best. I mean, I do love Timothy Olyphant.
Mm-hmm.
His so character. Yeah. And I think that's just partially because I like Timothy Olyphant. But no, I would have to.
I just love watching Timothy Olyphant, do anything. Like, he's so good in that role, that sheriff role. He's from Westwood, from
he really fits that cowboy Western vibe.
Yeah. Deadwood and Justified. He really
Justified.
He can play that sheriff.
Yeah. So and Cad Bane was cool, but he didn't do much and people complain, but he's also like, isn't he like 80 at this point?
He's really old at this point.
He's really old. And the fact that he just like saunters through the desert, he just was like, he's not quick. But who's a really great supporting character? And she's really more of a Mando supporting character, but I loved her scene and really helps build one of the greatest ships I've ever seen in Star Wars is Pelimoto, the mechanic. She is comedic relief. Funny. She is so funny. There's a lot. That whole episode was so great, but she was great in helping build. How cool was it to see the Naboo starfighter at first? Just that brought back some great episode 1 vibes. It's maybe a little bit more young Anakin bad, like Jake Lloyd, terrible acting bad vibes, but still cool to see.
It's still cool to see
starfighter.
And I like when he goes through the whole pod race area.
Yeah, that was cool.
That ramp still has the broken board from when Anakin went through it, and so that was kind of neat. Good call.
That's nostalgia done right. That's nostalgia done right. Mm-hmm. So, let's look at cinematography, because as much as we have been complaining about the show so far, the cinematography was beautiful for the show. It's shot in the bubble. The new what the Mando shot in, it's that new camera technology, and it's in an actual bubble that they shoot it in, so everything is computer generated, but still very, very, very beautiful. What do you think there, Morgan, on the cinematography?
No, I agree, and that's one of my favorite things about Western style shows, which is what I'm going to call this, and same with Mando, is the shots that you do for shows like that really can make or break something when you're setting up those high noon quick draws that they're they do a great job with that. And I will say the cinematography, it should be on a high list, the high list. They did a great job. The set pieces, everything they did, as far as that's concerned, they do a good job of bringing you into the world and making you feel like you're there from what they do. So I got no complaints about that.
Yeah.
And Bryce Dallas Howard directed my favorite episode of the season.
Oh no, she did great. She directed an episode in season 1 of Mando, season 2 of Mando, and every episode she's directed has been top notch.
Yeah,
she absolutely
top notch.
Yeah, she understands the world. You can tell. Yes, she understands it.
Totally. Bill, what do you think of cinematography?
I think it was good. I think we've seen better in The Mandalorian. I think they did a really good job. Morg, when you were talking, I thought back to that scene with Cad Bane, and they did a really good job at raising you could feel the tension during that showdown where they're kind of, you're like waiting for them to draw, and is he going to do it? Is he not? That was really, really well done. And I think it is kind of hard when you have a setting like Tatooine. There's not this beautiful, lush background so you're kind of working with these very muted colors. Everything's the same color or a different variation of the same color, but they did a good job of making it look good regardless and interesting. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to look at in the background of this, and it's all beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When they go to that Halo ring place, I was like, this is so cool. This is so cool. And on top of cinematography, had a really good score from Ludwig Göransson, who did the Mando theme. I loved it. And you didn't really get to hear like the actual Boba Fett that until the final episode. But
the
even
last
then,
episode,
it was such a good score. You guys like? Are you get? I know you guys aren't like music score nerds like Eric and I, but love the score. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, but like you said, I'm not quite the music score nerd, so like I appreciated it, and you know what they do and how they use the score right when filming. But I'm not one of those like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna pop on the Boba Fett soundtrack and listen to the score. like I know some people probably have done already.
I'm the same way, and I think I wonder if they hurt themselves with being too similar to the Mandalorian, and especially when you add in the visuals of the end credit on top of the soundtrack, because it's like, are they going to do that for every Star Wars show moving forward? Or, you know, why was it that stylistic choice to keep it exactly the same as the Mandalorian?
Yeah. And it could be like, because that's their race. It's like the Mandalorian ish theme kind of, you know, you get the same kind of music with Encanto and Coco, and you know, just might have to do with the race a little bit, but which I'm okay with if that's the reasoning, or but if it's just like you couldn't think of anything different, then that's not good. But if there's a reason for it, then I'm down for it. Because you know, they played the Mando theme. It was the end of episode 4 when Finnick and Boba are standing on the deck, and they're like, you know, I have plenty of credits. What I need is muscle.
Right. Yeah.
They play the Mando flute theme, and it didn't register with me until I watched the Easter egg video, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I totally hear it, but at first it didn't register with me that it was the.
It wasn't different enough.
Yeah, it wasn't different enough. So, here's what I really liked about this show. The world building it did to the Star Wars universe, I thought was incredible. And I'm a big world building nerd fan. I love when they localize it. Like you have Mando walking through a butcher shop basically, or you know, even the plastic stuff in the doorway that has to come through. You would see that in the real world. I love when they bring in real world stuff to Star Wars, and I think people are either you love it or you hate that. I'm more on the love it side. So what do you guys think about when they localize something, Morgan?
So I think one of my biggest gripes with Star Wars in general is the technology, because it seems like they can't figure out what the technology should be based on time periods. You know what I mean? And it's the classic, you watch the prequels and somehow everything just got shittier technology wise over time, you know, like it doesn't make sense. Like with the butcher,
it's a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
I know. This is only 30 years later. How much could have changed? But like you see, like when he walks in and you know they're cutting up whatever the meat is and stuff, like the tables they're putting it on even have like those red and blue buttons that like you see on Darth Vader's outfit and stuff. And it's like, why is that? Couldn't that just been a damn table? Like he's cutting up meat. Like
there's always been like this. Like
I know. Like what is the high techness of this table?
The panels never have words on it. Like when you look at panels in Star Wars, it's literally just buttons. Like it doesn't say this button is fire, this button is stop. Look at all the panels when you watch Star Wars; they never have words on it.
Right. Or like,
so it's like, what? How do you know when you're touching?
When they're
this is the nuclear bomb. Oops.
Exactly. That like there's like you can't tell. And then when they're building his new ship, you know, like they're like, yeah, we're beefing it up. It looks like they literally put like an air exhaust.
Yep.
You know, like you're like
it looks like a hot rod
muscle car. You know, and I'm like, how does that? And I'm like, I get it. What's that material made out of? Because he's got to fly in space.
Right.
And I know like there's going to be some fire on his way out of that atmosphere. Like it looks like that's just an exposed part of the engine that's just gonna melt away.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. As far as world building, I feel like they didn't do enough though.
Yeah.
For me, like okay, we got Luke, Grogu.
They really started it, but they got away from it. Yeah, they started and they got away from it, and then the Mando episode really got back to it, and then they got away from it. I don't know, Bill, what do you think of the world building in Book of Boba Fett?
I mean, that was my biggest gripe with it. I don't think there was enough. I think there was wasted opportunities. I would have loved to seen more. While we're on the topic of the ship, before we move too far away from that, I know we all have kids. How impractical is it to have them like sealed in a bubble behind you that you wouldn't be able to open unless you like landed?
Yeah,
I'm like, what if he chokes on that ball? How are you going to get to it?
And I love to like
you're in the middle of space,
right? And we're talking about a character that his favorite thing to do is just push buttons,
right?
So you know he's going to get ejected into space at some point.
Let's hope he doesn't have an eject button. Well, I guess use the force.
I also love like when they build the ship, and he's like, "Oh, where's the spot for the droid?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I figured you need that for your buddy." It's like the man's a bounty hunter. Could we not get him something big enough to hold?
Where's his bounties going?
Is he done being a bounty hunter? I take it. He's just
the Razor Crest with Grogu. The Razor Crest was such a perfect ship for Mando, and maybe he's not going to be a bounty hunter moving forward. He's a dad now. His son's come back to him. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't need the Razor Crest style ship. It's very impractical.
With the world building, I feel like that's another problem with the Grogu character, the Baby Yoda, is we are probably never going to get that real Jedi payoff that we want. I mean, he's no longer training, and we're always waiting for Grogu to do that badass Jedi thing like that. It doesn't, when he's there, you're waiting for it to happen. And so far, he brought down the TIE fighter, which was awesome, but he passed out. This time he made the Rancor go to sleep and he took a nap with it. Was it adorable? Yes. Right. But like, I want to see something where like, oh yeah, he is like an actual Jedi that had been trained for a good amount of time. Because don't forget, he's what they say he's like 60. He was
50 in the very first episode. So
he's been through some training.
Yeah.
Like.
And even Luke said a year in your life is like a lifetime of other people. So exactly. I agree with you so much in that, Morg, in the fact that one species in Star Wars we know shit about. This is the third species of this species, of Yoda's species. We had Yoda, we had Yaddle, which we barely know anything about, and we have baby Yoda. Yeah, the girl Yoda.
Yep.
And we have Grogu. It's the three species we've gotten, or three beings of that species. Mm-hmm. They've purposefully never showed their homeworld, talked about the race even more. Why are these the three we've gotten are force sensitive? Are they a force sensitive race? Like, exactly. I want more about what the hell Baby Yoda is. And
does their race just have high midichlorian levels?
Right. Yeah, exactly. God. So it is, I want more out of that. And I want it now. I just want more Baby Yoda.
I do and I don't at the same time. I like the mystique, and I like the want of, I want to know more. I've got to watch more to know more.
Yeah.
But, you just get these little snips every once in a while.
Listen, just give me more Baby Yoda.
And I think the problem is Disney went for the cash grab of making the cute Baby Yoda.
Right.
And now they're stuck in that realm of, do we do more with him, or do we leave him as cute Baby Yoda to sell shit? Like that's what they're stuck in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I just want more Baby Yoda. That's all. Please give me more Baby Yoda.
Grogu eating frogs.
Action is a big part of what you would think of Boba Fett show was. I will say again, the train scene was some of the best action I've seen in Star Wars. But when I think back on the show, what other action is worth remembering? Bill?
For me, it's the bad action. That spin was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I mean, you can watch a C movie, a C level fighting movie, and see better actions than then that spin, that for me would just ruined it. I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah. It was weird. It was, and I saw fans online defending it. Like every take I saw was like, nope, that's not good enough. Morg, what did you think of the action? Sorry, Bill, I didn't know you were down there.
I'm sorry. And I just wanted to say, I think there could have been more action. I think the train was done really well. And I wanted more of that and never really got it. There was definitely the want for more of that type or that style of action, but it just never materialized, and that was disappointing.
Yeah, no, I after that train scene, I'm like, this show is going to be amazing. And it never lived up to that. Mark,
agreed. Yeah, I wanted more action. Now, to be fair, I feel like there wasn't like a crap ton of action in Mandalorian either throughout like the seasons. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the action was kind of on par with like the feel of what they were doing with these shows, but it was just the way they did some of the action was just crap. Very disappointing. Like we all know the spin move was upsetting, and you've got
even when he got surrounded in the first episode, it was just like they're like poking him.
They were like poking him with shields.
Pushing him with shields.
What was the point?
Yeah.
Black Chrysanthemum did, like, he should have had more. Really see him fight. I will say, really creepy thing about this whole season that, like, I think people just forget about is when those aliens were eating him as they took him down. So he whatever the race, it was the lizard
people, the Trandoshans,
right? In the big fight at the end, and he gets overwhelmed. And they jump on him, and they all start biting him and stuff. Like it's watch it again. It's terrifying because I looked at my son. And we were both like, "Oh, they're eating him!" Like I was like, "It's terrifying."
I didn't notice that.
But the action just didn't see. It just seemed off. Mm-hmm. Something about it just didn't seem.
It just felt like the Rancor was cool. The Rancor fighting was so cool. Like it was good to see the Rancor actually be this is why you should fear Rancors. Like they are not to be reckoned with. And so that was cool. The train scene was cool. That it brings us to my last two questions for you, and we can kind of knock them out at the same time because was this show worth it? And where do we go next? So I'll start with you, Morgan. Was this show worth it, and where do we go next? We talked about whether you want a season 2 of Boba,
right?
But where does Star Wars go from here?
Honestly, I think Star Wars goes from here. They leave Boba behind.
Well, let's start with, was the show worth it?
Was the show worth it? No.
Sorry, I mixed it up.
No, you're good. Was the show worth it? I think not. I think it was unneeded. The only thing that made it worth it was getting the Mando stuff so we can get some Luke, Grogu, Ahsoka, Mando. Like,
look at you wanting some Luke stuff. Look at you.
Well, I know because I feel like Star Wars is doing their best to, in my opinion, redeem the Luke character.
He doesn't need redemption.
He needs redemption. But and seeing him like when Luke was training Grogu and he's giving him the choice, where you don't really see that choice too much in the other stuff. It was either like, yeah, you're a Jedi, so come on, we're training you. Where he was like, listen, this is it. I understand. You got to the choice is up to you. I'm not going to force you to be this. You pick where your heart lies. Do you want the cool lightsaber that we're not quite sure how he has, or do you want?
I think it was in it. I think Yoda had it on Dagobah, and Luke was like, "Yoink." He's dead now. I'm taking this. I mean, there was a Star Wars comic that. So he lost his original lightsaber that you saw in the prequels. He lost that during his fight with Palpatine. But then he rebuilt a new lightsaber on Dagobah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's some of the lore that, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it was worth it, honestly.
Okay.
So,
I like to hear that kind of take. Like, do you think it was worth it? Bill, was the show worth it for you? Where's Star Wars go next?
I agree with Morgan. I don't think it was worth it. I almost feel like the people who created the show felt like it wasn't worth it. It was sort of like they felt the need to interject an episode and a half of Mandalorian to make it worth it, to justify the existence. But if you remove that and you really look at Boba Fett as a show, I don't think it was worth it. I mean, as much as I love seeing more of the Star Wars universe and I will eat it up all day, I could have gone without it. Moving forward, I'd like to see him as a side character. I already said, I personally would not like a second season. I'd like them to move in a different direction, something we're not already getting, and sort of maybe, introduce. See, and here's where I'm gonna sort of stop myself. I want them to introduce new characters, but God, please don't introduce new characters like the Moped Gang. Like, I don't want to see a season about the Moped Gang. Yeah. And that's where it's like, you wish for certain things, but at the same time, you're like, oh, are they really going to do that well if they go in that direction? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want Boba Fett to go anywhere. I really like Boba Fett, but, just not as a main character. I think he's a great supporting character. I
mean, I would like them to explain why Dash, the leader of the scooter gang, is like albino white on Tatooine. That doesn't make sense to me.
I need an explanation on it. I'm with you guys. Like, you take away the Mando stuff, wasn't worth it even to get some of the stuff. Like, we could get more Black Chrysanthemum, we could get more Peli Motto, we could get more Fennec Shand. Like, was it worth it to get more of that? Yes. But was it worth it to see more Boba? No. It wasn't. It didn't live up to the hype. Where we go next, we're going back to Tatooine for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. But I was very, very hyped for Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. After Boba, I'm a little bit worried about it, but I also have like Boba was a character who we didn't have a lot. There's not, he's like this guy. He was in the holiday special, and that's when he became popular. Then he was in Empire for 2 minutes, and then he was in the prequels as a kid, and he's like the whole genetic beings, all the genetic beings, all the clones are basically a clone of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. So then we get to show and we're like, cool, we're going to get more Boba Fett and see how much of a badass he is. And that's not what we got. So it just didn't feel right. Obi-Wan is different. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Obi-Wan. Like, Obi-Wan is one of the most beloved Star Wars characters. So on one side, that makes me very excited. On the other side, it makes me very nervous. Like, don't diminish the character.
Don't mess up Boba.
Yes.
Yeah. There's that. And we did the Cassian Andor series later this year, which we've barely seen anything from. I'm really excited for that because that's tying off of the Rogue One conversation we had on the rundown about that's being some of the best Star Wars material. And I'm really excited to see how the Rebel Alliance is formed, which that show is going to present.
And see, that's the thing that I don't want it or need it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need him to have his own thing because he did what he needed to do in the Rogue One, and
if it was a new character, it would be different. I think you'd feel different about it if it was right. Knowing that you're like, there's an end to that character. That's not going to come in this show, so the suspense isn't there for that character's death. That does hurt it a little, but I am very excited to see it. Like, I loved in Han Solo, the early days of the Empire. I loved seeing that stuff. So I'm excited to see how the Rebel Alliance is formed in that show.
Right. And also too, real quick, with your point of like the world building, you appreciate again, like, Black Chrysanthemum and some of the other characters, but the fact that they didn't allude to their history or tie together made me feel like they didn't have to do that. They could have just introduced them in Mandalorian in the next season and we would have been fine. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah. And then it would have been more believable because they don't have a history, like, all right, cool, and things like that. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And
ultimately, opportunity missed, I think, is the main thing we get out of this. And now that, we've all been able to kind of release our tension about Boba Fett. I know Bill's really last couple days been like, I gotta talk about this. You can breathe.
I hope in Mandalorian that he learns in the next season, he learns how to lie, because when the armor is just like, have you ever taken off your helmet? If you just went down.
It's like, you ever taken off your helmet? Have you? Yes.
I know. Have you ever taken off your helmet? No. They can't see your face. They can't read you. No. All right, good. Yeah. You're still good.
Am I lying right now? Yes.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting you brought up that specific scene, because my wife happened to walk in the door as that scene was on, and she was like, "Why are you watching The Mandalorian?" But anyway, she watched that scene with me, and she asked the question. She was like, "Did she know he removed his helmet?" And I was like, "Why? I don't think so." And she was like, "Well, why did she just randomly ask him that? Like, where did that question come from?"
Exactly.
That's a really good point. Like, it did seem like maybe she did know he removed his helmet, and maybe she was trying to catch him in a lie.
Yeah. Maybe they're hinting that there is more of them, and there is more of a reach of them than you realize, because she knew. Because my guess would be she. That's a really good point. Did that. Yeah, my guess would be
that's how I felt too. Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't think about that. I like that.
Because you don't ask that without knowing. Like, she knew the answer.
It was very out. I mean, he just.
It did feel like, why are you asking me this, bitch? Like, get off my ass.
Unless maybe she's got.
Unless that's like an ordinary question, like once every.
True. Or maybe she's got some Jedi in her. We don't know it. And she can sense that.
Well,
he doesn't feel like he's a true Mandalorian.
There's a really interesting theory out there, and go theory craft this a bit, that she is a Darth Maul follower. And there is some really cool theories about that have some like kind of concrete evidence, more so, cool. Not just the horns on her helmet, but the whole Darth Maul like connection throughout the Star Wars universe. There's some really crazy theories. I would definitely go check that out. Right after you listen to this, go check it out. Yeah. I do want to mention Jason Sparks was going to be on this show. He was going to be able to talk about Boba Fett was like one of his favorite characters growing up. I'm very excited to hear what his thoughts are on the show. I'm sorry he wasn't able to make this show, but Jason, let us know what you think. You set us up really nicely for the question on the rundown, and then here we are talking about Boba Fett. So I want to hear your thoughts. And everybody else, like literally everybody who listens to the show, let me know what you think of Boba Fett. Comment, subscribe. Leave a comment.
Commenting helps with the algorithm.
Yes, we need more
gets
comments.
Us out there more.
You guys have been doing really well with the likes. We're getting a lot of likes. I like it.
Keep going.
Let's start putting some comments on those videos. So
get us out there so we can interview John Krasinski.
That's right. That's the ultimate goal here.
That's the ultimate goal, John Krasinski. Did you hear that, John? I know you're out there.
I know it'll get to you at some point. Bill, love having you on. It's been too long since we had you on the show. We definitely need to get you back on the show more.
Thank you, guys.
Got some real fire takes.
Yeah.
Did you have fun, Bill?
Fire takes.
Just a chance to sit down and just talk nerd with you guys is always. It's just a great time. It really is.
It is fun to nerd out with you guys, and everybody else that listens in on the show. Nerd out with us. Let us know what you thought of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I should say. Rich, really, what kind of title is that? After watching the show, it's like, what does that even mean?
I don't get it.
How did that tie in?
Did they do it in chapters like they did with Mando?
Well, they did the Mando. Yeah, they do.
Okay.
It didn't.
Yeah, why did they call him? There's got to be. Did we miss something?
A missed opportunity there, a misconnection. Yeah. Anyway, well, it had a great time with you guys today. Look forward to next week. I actually may not be on the show next week. Got to work this out. So,
oh man, we got to figure that out because I'm not going to be there.
We got to figure it out. I know. Eric's just going to be on.
Just Eric solo show. So he's going to talk for 4 hours.
He might be able to.
I love you, Eric.
It's like if there's one guy who could do it, it'd be Eric.
It'll be Eric. Yep.
He's that good. So he would entertain me for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe he just tells some Zoom videos, stories. That would be entertaining.
And he could nerd out. He could do some Air Force stuff, nerd out about.
We can finally just talk about Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's his Star Trek time.
No. Anyway, we love having you on the show, Bill. Morgan, you're doing just an amazing job, not really bringing up Luke Skywalker
I did my best. I said good things.
You did good.
I said more good.
You didn't piss me off too much.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I love you all out there. I'll see you next week on the Nerd Rundown Presents, or I'll listen to you on the Nerd Rundown Presents next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Deuces.